Hello everyone, this is Zeeebo and welcome to this AFK journey video. So in this AFK journey video, we're going to talk about the top 5 best PVE team compositions that you can run for your AFK stage pushing in the early game. And in today's video, we'll talk about the substitutes, the team lineups, the strengths and weaknesses of each team, as well as discuss about the potential combos of some of the newer units that were released to the game itself. And without further ado, let us start today's video. So before we start the team introduction, the artifact assumed in all this team is the Starshot spell, because this is single-handedly still the best early game artifact because of the stats distribution, the true damage to all enemies, the debuff to increase your team's survival, as well as the good haste and HP buff to make your team tankier and spam their skill. So all the teams will be recommended with this artifact. There are certain situations where you run the new seasonal artifacts, such as your Divine Favor spell, to buff up 2 strongest carries to do damage. So there will be situations where certain seasonal artifacts or certain artifacts, like even a confining spell, might see some use. But in most cases, early game artifact, best one would be this one over here. So the very first team is the Shemira team. So personally speaking, I think this team ranks a little bit lower in the power level rating, because Shemira, despite being an insanely powerful damage dealer that is able to do a lot of damage, requires you to buy enough space for her to come online. So this space is usually provided by the likes of Bonnie or other control units such as Eironn Ulmus, or other support units that gives you the survival and acceleration for Shemira to cast off her ultimate. So the core of this team in most cases, I'll say, is Shemira and Bonnie, and maybe Diamond for you to get that Graveborn Factioner Soul Pack online in terms of the Fantimo stages. So in this case, if you don't have Eironn Armor showcase on the screen, you can go for a more tanky defensive package like Fresto or even Twins, and you can also throw in a Ludovic for the additional heal, or just Pandora to actually allow Shemira's ultimate to come online. But just take note that Pandora is a double-edged sword, because the ultimate can also debuff your team. Now, for Diamond's case, Diamond is there as a semi-frontliner with a little bit of control and also buff onto Shemira. So for Diamond's case, you can also replace Niru with the S+ upgrade for the buffs, the heal, as well as a little bit more damage. So for Bonnie's case, if you do not have Bonnie, Tasi works as well to give you those additional control. But this will give you a more close team setup towards the Eironn Armor's control core instead of a Shemira team. So depending on the units you have, you build around Shemira, and that's the main idea for this team over here. Next up, we have another team which builds around a single unit or based around a single unit, and this is the Smokey team. So Smokey team is definitely a lot weaker nowadays because of the morale of control units running around. So it's much tougher to pull off the 3 aromas of this unit safely. But the idea of this unit is pretty much the same as it used to be. Control the enemy, reposition the enemy into the 3rd aroma, and have Smokey do a whole bunch of damage to win you the fight. So this is a team that still works if you're able to pull off the Smokey Cloud. So the idea of this team is to survive long enough as reposition and also fill up the gap in case your Smokey doesn't do enough damage. So next up, we have the Lightbearer base team. And this team, without a DPS, can also work with your artifact, Starshot spell, and moving forward with Growth Trap spell as well. So in the early game, Starshot spell is still one of the strongest early game AFK stage pushing artifact, and we combine that with the likes of Rowan as well as Hugin, giving you the Lightbearer defensive core. You're able to cycle through your skills really fast, activating the Starshot spell procs more frequently. So for this team, the core would be Rowan and Hugin. For the Lightbearer side of things, you can also throw in Siren or Zenny to give you the Lightbearer Fantimo activation, or even a Perseus in the place of Balron for the Lightbearer, as well as the carry tag for the frontlining side of things. So Balron is included in this setup that I'm sharing because Balron offers quite a bit of damage as he's able to stack up his celestial form, and also has insane synergy with the likes of Rowan and Valera, forming the healing core in the background. Next team would be the Mauler core team. So this team used to be one where OD is a must-have in terms of the carry slot because he was the strongest carry for AFK stages for the insta-Q, massive damage over time, and the synergy with the Maulers in the form of Smokey and Coco. However, as of the recent change of meta and having stronger carries that are good for AFK stages running around, I think the core or the absolute must-have would be Smokey and Coco for their defensive prowess, Smokey's heal and buff, and Coco's shielding and damage reduction against certain enemy archetypes. So OD slot is replaceable, but OD is still powerful with the ability to deal with certain units like the likes of Igor or the likes of Thorns pretty easily with the insta-Q mechanics. So for OD's case, you have a lot more carry substitutes like Shemira, Eironn, as well as whoever is able to do enough damage to fill up the damage gap. For the other units like Foresto, you can use tanks like Theodore, you can use tanks like Kellen, or any meaty mid-shield tank that can soak damage for your Smokey and your Coco's defensive buffs to come online. Now, one thing to note about this team in terms of the team build-up as well as the recommendation is that there isn't really a lot of control units being recommended, because this team is more damage centric, so it works best against enemies with the ability to negate control, is control immune, or just takes less damage from the next team that we're going to introduce. That's why you use this team, because this team deals damage based off Smokey, based off OD or whatever carry you're using, as well as Starshot spell cycling through all your different units right here. So this is a damage based comp that is slightly weaker against enemies which are able to hit really hard or control you before you're able to do anything. Last but not least, we have the strongest team archetype from a very long time ago, which is the Eironn Ulmus team, but updated to the current meta. So Eironn Ulmus is really strong because of the instant control, the debuff, the reposition capability, as well as the chain CC potential. So this is technically a chain control team, but with Eironn Ulmus, there's a lot of flexibility in a sense. You can actually run an Eironn Ulmus team with damage dealers if you have sufficient control with these two units, or you can run other control units to give you a chain CC Eironn Ulmus team. So for the damage-centric base team, we have the likes of Bryon, Pheromore, Saida, Baron, Shemira in the team, and this is a team that you use when you have sufficient control just of Eironn Ulmus in the team, and you want more damage to push through certain enemy archetypes that have insane heals or even just insane tankability. For the chain CC side, Tasi as well as Lucy, they are the most powerful control AoE based team to synergize with the CC variant, because Tasi is a massive full map sleep and Lucy has a pretty decently sized AoE control ability that has a very short cooldown, which makes chain CC a lot more powerful in this case because the opponent just cannot move if they're stuck in the chain CC cycle. Now, for the support side in the last slot, Valeria is replaceable with the likes of Damien or Niru or even Rowan, just for your units to spam their ultimate to do their chain CC, cycle through their skill for DPS, or just the ability to proc more Starshot spells in general. So that's pretty much it for this video. Just a short breakdown of the most commonly used top teams that you can be running for your own account. So a lot of this team build really depends on the situation in terms of the units that you want to use as the carry, the control units you want to pair with your specific archetypes, or even the support units you have built up to combo with your team. So hopefully you find the best team you can use to push the AFK stages with. And that's pretty much it for this video. Thank you very much for tuning in. I'll see you guys again in my next video. Bye guys.